Hello, and welcome to the University of Law. Um, in today's video, as with other videos being released at the moment, I'm kind of catching up on videos that I was doing kind of in the middle of last year that kind of um, went on the sideline really. Stuff that when I was busy over the summer I didn't get time to do, and then with the anniversary it was just non-stop. I think there was loads of stuff I was planning to do, in the kind of late summer, early autumn, and then when the anniversary came, it was just every day. Well, it was magnificent, wasn't it? But it needed to be covered exclusively at the anniversary. So this is, and to be honest, I should have done this as the anniversary because it is Doomsday. It's my final video looking at the final hours of Doomsday. So I've already done, I think, 2 videos on this. This is the final video. I'm basically going through my thoughts. So this isn't so much a law. I know other channels have done law videos where they've kind of gone through what you can take from each video, from each release story-wise. This is more my review, going through each release. And I'll probably end this video as well with a little overview of what I thought of Doomsday as a whole. So where we left it last time was we had the mobile game and we'd had the novel. I loved the novel. The novel at that point was my favourite release of Doomsday. I have to say, I'd enjoyed everything up to that point. We'd had Doctor Who magazine comic strip, we'd had a Titan comic strip, we'd had the mobile game, and they were all good. I enjoyed all of them, but the novel really grabbed me, and for me, they got better and better. Although I would say the novel probably still is my favourite on reflection, but I'll go over that later. So after the novel, the next hour in Doomsday, her 24-hour day, was another mobile game. It was another level. Now I have to say on this occasion, I didn't manage to unlock all of the story content myself, but thankfully I think someone on YouTube had popped on a video of all the story, and it was quite fun. It was basically a animated comic and a nice mishmash of different characters. Obviously, we've got the 13th Doctor. We've got, in fact, it wasn't the 13th Doctor, was it? It was K9. No, Chameleon, and we had K9. So there was lots of lore, and obviously the game as a whole explores the whole of Doctor Who's rich 60-year history. And I think Doomsday, and I'll come to this later, is an exploration of Doctor Who's rich history, of trying to throw all of it in together. So I really enjoyed it. And it was a nice little filler. I have to say, I would have preferred, like with Time of Victorious, getting a game like Edge of Time. I know Edge of Time was a game that was sort of tweaked more to fit the Time of Victorious, but it would have been nice to have had that. But then I know obviously you have to be realistic with budgets and things around this, and with license holders, etc. And you don't just rustle up a game like that overnight. But for what it was a nice addition to the story. And then we got this. I'm going to pop this so we don't get so much glare. We got this, which was Fall from Doomsday. Now, if you'll remember, Fall from Doomsday was actually what kind of alerted us all to the fact that Doomsday was happening, because we'd gotten a tease one day, didn't we? Like with Tom Torres on Twitter, where it said, something's going to be revealed tomorrow. I think people were already saying, well, there's been this audiobook called Fall from Doomsday for pre-order on Amazon for a few weeks now, and it looks like this is linked in. So, what I liked about this was we'd had a few videos of Doom. I think often whenever a game or a book came out, there'd be a little video, a few seconds long, with Doom kind of filling in the gap, launching the next hour of her journey. It was kind of a little pause between. I enjoyed those. It would have been great if we could have had some cameos. I know that probably would have been a bit more ambitious, maybe to have had, someone back, an old Doctor or something, just as a quick cameo in there, or some old clips repurposed. But they were fun nevertheless. So all we'd really had was her doing those. And I have to say, listening to this, so it's 4 different stories, and the final story is read by, in fact, it might even be more than that. It might even be, I can't remember now, but at least 1, if not 2, and it's over 4 discs. So there's 2 stories on each disc. But basically, yes, it's an hour adventure. Obviously, it's only half an hour because of fitting onto a disc. But each one was read by a different author. I think she either did 1 or 2. But actually, it was the first time we really heard Doom herself. Her voice being voiced by Suze Kempner. It was the first time I'd actually heard her doing it properly for an extended period of time. And actually, I have to say, despite all the comics and the books, it felt like we'd known this character for a long time. And the character, as portrayed, was perfectly fitted with the character as written, I felt. And to me, I was really impressed by that, actually. I was happy. I thought, you know what? This is my first time actually hearing her properly do this. And it fits perfectly with everything that I've been listening to so far. The story certainly felt more coherent from this point on. With the comics and the mobile game, because they were so short, so quick and snappy, you didn't always feel a coherence there. Because you had a more extended time, you felt you were starting to get to the story a bit more and get to what was really happening. You know, some of the revelations hit home a bit more. You thought you were understanding what she was running from a bit more. But also that always kind of makes sense because we were heading towards the ending and things were starting to be wrapped up as well. You'll see from the artwork here, we had a lovely story with Barbara and Ian post the chase. We had Brian the Ood back in a prequel, I believe, to his time of Victorious days. We had obviously the Ice Bros, that was a really fun story, and of course the 12th Doctor appears as well, setting the scene for another Doctor adventure. So at this point, she'd met Chameleon as the 13th Doctor, she'd met the 6th Doctor, the 3rd Doctor in the comic strips. The 12th Doctor had already been involved in the Missy comic. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was nice. It was just a couple of short stories, and I loved all of the actors who were reading. I especially enjoyed Silas Carson, but all of the readers did a wonderful job. And then finally we had this Doomsday: The Dying Hours, which was Big Finish's contribution to the range. I always thought this was going to be my favourite, and it was up there as one of my favourites. I'd say this was probably my second favourite, with the novel being my absolute favourite. But the novel I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, and I really did. I found it so easy to read. I thought I might struggle getting through the book, but I read it in about 2 sittings. I couldn't get enough of it. Big Finish I knew was going to be great anyway. Again, as with all these ranges, you can see there is a range of Doctor Who's past being celebrated. We've got Jackie Tyler from the 9th and 10th Doctor's era. We've got The Silence from the 11th Doctor's era. We've got A Mission to the Unknown from the 1st Doctor's era. Or Dalek's Master Plan. It was a prequel to Dalek's Master Plan. As you may know, I love that story. It's one of my favourite stories of all time, and this prequel really did work quite well, written by another massive fan of the story. And we've got the 8th Doctor and Charlie as well. It was a really great set, and it led into the very final one, which actually, to be honest, could have been my favourite as well. As the second half was really, I enjoyed all of it. The second half was particularly strong. Maybe it's because we were getting more answers. There was more meat to it because it was you can do more with a book or a 2-hour CD or a 4-hour box set. You can do more with that than you could with a comic strip or a quick mobile game, and that's not a criticism. That's simply the medium that they're in. But it made sense actually to do it that way round, because we were starting to take our first tentative steps into Doomsday with those comics and those mobile games. Now the meatiest episodes we got to those revelations, so we really get to know Doom and her character. And again, she carries it so well. Suze Kempner, and you really felt like you knew the character. You'd always known the character. You felt like she was a real part of the show's history. And then we launched into that finale with the return. It was the 1st Doctor after all, which we'd kind of worked out as we'd gone along. And what was beautiful, actually I didn't mention that she met the 9th and 2nd Doctor as well, didn't she, in the novel? Should have mentioned that. In that final story, which was the short story, we find out that in fact the issue is that there's been a paradox. She's been set up. She was sent to kill her earlier self. And that caused a paradox. And the 1st Doctor helps her to rewrite the paradox and set time back on track. And she learns a valuable lesson and reforms the order at the end. So I really enjoyed this initiative, this multi-platform event. I'm not going to compare it to Time Lord Victorious because I don't think you can. They're two completely different beasts. Time Lord Victorious, I enjoyed the scale more. In some ways, it was all at once more focused and more expansive at the same time, Time Lord Victorious, in the sense that you were following a single story, but you could follow the story from different perspectives, either the Daleks or the 9th or the 10th or the 8th Doctors or Brian the Ood. There's lots of different paths that you could follow, but it was one specific story, and you were kind of exploding out from that and kind of looking at different angles, and it kind of felt a bit more open, because there was the whole kind of things about the Dark Times and, you know, Daleks and Ancient Gallifrey. There was lots of stuff there. Whereas this felt more focused. So Where they improve on each other is actually mutually agreeable in the sense that this is better because it's more specific, but Tunnel Victorious is better because it's more open. So in fact, what makes Tunnel Victorious better than this is the opposite of what makes this better than that, if that makes sense. They're completely different pieces. You cannot compare them. I certainly got more of a thrill out of Tunnel Victorious because I think it was a bit more open. It went on for a little bit longer. There was live events, there was games, there was escape rooms. There was a lot more variety, and it felt a little bit more hands-on. With the Daleks, it felt a bit more, climactic. There was more Big Finish stuff. It was, dropped. There was more of it dropped over a longer period, and I'd probably prefer that kind of thing next time. I know for a lot of people, it made it prohibitive if you couldn't get to one of those events. It was expensive. I did find that during COVID, it was exciting to Victorious that while you were locked in, there was some fun stuff coming out that you could something to look forward to. I know it wasn't the plan because they didn't know about the pandemic when they planned Tunnel Victorious, and that was an issue with some of the live events, but it was still, if you were locked inside, it was fun to kind of have that to look forward to. And, even when we could kind of go to work and stuff, but there were still restrictions, it was still fun to know that there was this stuff coming out. Doomsday, on the other hand, was focused in the sense that I thought it was a worthy celebration of the 60 years of Doctor Who. I loved the idea of it being 24 hours, and you got 24 different stories to tell through that day. It was one character, one narrative story. You can pick up any in isolation, and they completely work, probably more so than a Tunnel Victorious story. But at the same time, you kind of knew where to start and end. It was very kind of clear, whereas Tunnel Victorious was a little bit more messy in that sense. But what I loved was, for me, it really worked for the 60th. It was focused, it was more accessible, I'd say, in that sense. It was more streamlined. I think it meant more people could get involved. It was more accessible in many ways for people to enjoy the 60th and for it to explore many different areas, because Tunnel Victorious was mainly 8th, 9th, 10th, and the Time War, really. It was very much, if you were someone like me who became a fan in 2005, I thought it was really geared towards you, whereas this kind of celebrates everything. There's quite a broad range of coverage, which makes sense for the 60th. So I really enjoyed that, and I'd love them to do another project like this. Obviously, they've done two completely different projects between Doomsday and Tunnel Victorious. What I'd love to see them do next is basically what Big Finish have done with Centaurans versus Rutans, which is, I wish they could have done that, and to have just had a load of different stories set in that epic war. But really, they are completely distinct, and anyone can just pick up one, and it really is standalone. But at the same time, you are getting a rich world-building experience of that conflict. That would have been really fun. You could do something around the Cyber Wars, the Orion Wars. That would be quite fun. Obviously, they haven't done the Cybermen yet. They did Daleks last time. I'd love to see them do some Cybermen stuff. I mean, they could have just rehashed it and done Tunnel Victorious with Cybermen. I don't think that would have been too original, and that's why I think Doomsday was great. I think the third way you could do it, which would be my preferred way, which is a bit of going in the middle, whereby it has that scope and that scale and that openness of Tunnel Victorious. Also, at the same time, you wouldn't be lost, picking up a story, and in that sense, there's not a clear path that you have to take. So yeah, that's my thoughts. What did you think of Doomsday and Tunnel Victorious, and what are your thoughts? Would you like to see another scheme like this, and what would you like to see? Do let me know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. I look forward to speaking to you soon.